Now, I'd like to introduce our first live presenter. Aman Yazdani is a professor at Conestoga College, adjunct professor at the University of Waterloo, and a researcher for the Center of Research Expertise for the Prevention of Musculoskeletal Disorders, who's going to be speaking to us today about Ontario's new MSD prevention guidelines. Aman?
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Perhaps it's my first RSI Day presentation. I used to be Richard Wells before retirement to attend RSI Day and present career MSD work. I had an opportunity to work with Richard in the past a few years, and we together co-led the development of the MSD prevention guideline, well, actually the redevelopment of MSD prevention guideline for Ontario. Katrin briefly mentioned the old MSD guideline document that I believe many of you are familiar with. We were tasked by Ministry of Labour in 2016 to redevelop the guideline, and we in October 2018 we launched the beta version of the guideline, and we continue working on it to improve it, and I'll explain what we've done to get here and what we plan to do in the next few months, as well as I'll walk you through some of the features of the website. So there is no booklet anymore. We created a website that has a lot of resources, and the idea is that as we make progress, as research evolves, we'll be able to update some of the material. As we get feedback from users, we'll be able to update the website with new content, and that way we have a live document that we can actually revise as we make progress through research and practice. So the project was funded by Ministry of Labour, and as I suggested, Career MSD was tasked to redevelop the guideline. And I believe all of you are familiar with these booklets. Katrin briefly talk about the history, and they were available through Health and Safety Association websites, through Career MSD website, IWH website, and Ministry of Labour website that perhaps many ergonomists across the province and even internationally used in the past. So what we wanted to do with the new guideline, we wanted to really evaluate the current guideline and identify areas for improvement, and if there was any kind of important takes that we can actually have with us to use for the new guideline, and to do that, we reach out to a lot of people. We reach out to a lot of ergonomists. We kind of surveyed health and safety associations. We surveyed health and safety, joint health safety committee members to understand if they use the guideline, how they used it, for what purposes, what they believe was most useful part of the guideline, and what they want to see in the new guideline. Then we also, next step for us was to develop the content for the guideline and test it across different platforms. We reach out to small businesses, which I'll talk about in a moment, as well as reach out to some of the practitioners in the field to see what the what feedbacks they have about the new content. We prepared the guideline. The phase one of the website development was done, and we launched the guideline in October 2018. And right now we're on the second phase of the guideline development, which we're looking into developing graphic resources, and also add videos, and also right now we're working on a very nice feature, and that is control picker, which we're actually adding a feature to the website that you'll be able to draw from a list of controls that we put in, we will put in, and that, for instance, you go and self-identify yourself as a small business owner or even a joint health safety committee member. in healthcare and you have lifting problem, and then that would kind of you identify what sector you are in, what problem you have, and that would give you some simple solutions. It would be graphical solutions. Again, I explain that when I get into the website, and that feature we hopefully will be launching that by October 2019. So what we did was we did a comprehensive environmental scan of available guideline internationally. So we reviewed every possible guideline we could have access to, and it was available in public domains. We reached out to a lot of people, asked them about the practices that they have, and also asked them about the old guideline. We surveyed small and micro businesses in Ontario. We surveyed a huge number of them, and I'll explain in my slides how we did that. And we partnered with Ministry of Labour to do that survey. We interviewed small businesses, micro businesses. We interviewed key stakeholders, and we also had a workshop in June of 2017 where we had practitioners in Toronto, and we talked about some of the concepts that we were working on back then. We also did some research around participatory ergonomics, and also how compatible that is with the health safety management system. We did a scoping review of barriers to ergonomic changes. We look into, again, lots of ways that we can actually develop messages for small and micro businesses, and what kind of concepts would work for small and micro businesses. Because one of the areas that we identified in our evaluation of the old guideline was that there was a lot of good information, but maybe not tailored appropriately for the needs of small businesses. So we identified as an area that we can actually focus on more and provide something for micro and small businesses. So here is the timeline of the activities we had from 2016 to 2018, where we launched the guideline on October 1st, 2018. And I suggest that the phase 2 is going on right now, and we hope that we can actually launch the full guideline by October 1st of 2019, which I guess it will be on Tuesday. So I would like to move to the another slide deck I have for the small business study, because I want to walk you through what we did for the small businesses and how we surveyed them and what are the results of that study, because I believe that could be very eye-opening for many of us. Can we switch to the slide deck 5.5, please? Yes, thank you. So when we're looking at small businesses, when we look at MSD prevention, we're looking at a lot of boundaries. You're talking about a sector-specific components, issues that you need to be kind of concerned about. You also have size of the organization that, again, could be the boundaries that you have to be aware of. The solution that you have for medium, large businesses is not going to work for small micro businesses, and you need to really understand what it takes to make a change within micro, small businesses versus medium size versus large businesses. We also have current best practices or standards, as you may call them, through CSA and through other organizations, that they come up with those standards, that they are mainly kind of written for organizations that they have resources, they are within medium and large kind of size. And when we're looking at the other kind of issues that you may face when you're looking at developing best practice for these businesses, you're looking at, are you going to focus on physical hazards? Are you going to look into organizational issues? Are you looking into psychosocial kind of aspects of ergonomics? So we were struggling for quite some time to really have some sort of a scope around the new guideline. One of the, as I suggested, issues that we identified through our conversation with a lot of stakeholders was around small businesses, and we identified in the literature that we have to make sure that these businesses, solutions that we create for these businesses would be appropriate and really realistic based on what they can do within their organization. So I do not need to talk about how important small businesses are. Statistics Canada had a recent study suggesting that 70% of our working population, they actually work for micro small businesses, and that those numbers perhaps will grow. And there are about 400,000 small businesses in Ontario, and you're talking about a diverse group of businesses that could range in terms of kind of size and diversity. You have a lot of new immigrants working for those kind of small micro businesses. And when looking at WSIB numbers, 30% of lost time injuries accepted by WSIB Ontario are attributed to small business workers. And it was clear for us that these this group, they've been not provided with enough attention when it comes to providing them with best practices or providing them with guidelines. So for the small businesses, we started looking at what could possibly be useful for these small businesses. So we need a needs assessment study. Then in 2017, we developed a one of the posters that I believe some of you have it right now, and I want to test it in the small businesses to see if they actually can use it and they see it useful. In 2018, we actually pilot tested the Quick Start Guideline, which I'll explain in a bit later. And again, today I have brought with me kind of some examples of the of what we actually used during that study. And in 2019, we were working with Ministry of Labour Student Outreach Program to be able to evaluate the Quick Start Guideline, which is again developed for micro and small businesses. So the objective for that study was to look into gaps for small businesses, identify those gaps for small businesses, and also evaluate the needs and also develop resources that fulfill the needs of these small businesses. So as suggested in the needs assessment study, we partnered with Ministry of Labour Student Outreach Program. It was an anonymous survey, so students within Ministry of Labour's program, they had to go to door to small businesses and survey small businesses. We luckily could incorporate some questions within that big survey that was about workplace harassment. It was about training, and safety issues. We could actually incorporate a few questions regarding physical demands at work. So about 6,000 workplaces visited by students. As you see here, there were 250 surveys from Sudbury. So students were actually going door to door, small businesses in province of Ontario, across province. And again, few did not participate in the survey, as you might imagine, or they actually dropped midway through the survey as they were not interested to continue, or didn't have time. So these are the questions we were actually looking into when it comes to physical demands: working with your arms above your head, frequent bending of your back, having to stay in one position, so talking about static posture, and also exerting high gripping force with your hand. And see here, these are the self kind of response that we got from business owners and as well as the people that they self-identified themselves as a manager of those small businesses. And you might imagine that, well, what that could mean working with your arms above your head for a manager. So we had some sort of a training that we provided to students, and we explained what those scenarios could be. We provided them with examples and also some GIF images that, for instance, they were kind of moving images that we asked them if a person does not know what that means, you can actually show them that or provide them with examples. So we want to make sure that they understand what we're really asking. And you see here that many of these small businesses, they have these kind of issues that we identified, as well as, again, repetitive work, as well as kind of lifting, pushing, and pulling. And so we identified that these are perhaps most common issues that these small businesses face. And when we're looking at dissemination of information, ask them, if we want to provide you with education in terms of ergonomics and physical demands, how do you want to receive the information? They were talking about, well, give us posters and flyers. We can put them up here, and the workers can see them every day. It was, to be honest, being in an academic, I was really surprised, because we're in the technology era, and people use Twitter, websites, and Instagram, all those kind of things. And as well as we've done a lot of research, we believe that people go and read our papers. Well, in reality, that's not happening. So they were talking about posters, and that's, they wanted us to disseminate information using those. And we also asked them about, how do you get the information, or are you familiar with health and safety associations? And many of them, they were not really familiar with health and safety associations, and they were getting information through the accountants and the bookkeepers, which was, again, very surprising, because when we're talking about how we want to actually reach out to small businesses, we do have a website, we have this up on the website, but that's not enough. We have to reach out to accountants, non-traditional way of communicating with these people in health and safety, to be able to reach out to them and provide them with education that they need to do their jobs. And so we were not alone. Because that survey was not only about ergonomics, it was about all health and safety issues, and we realized that they're all struggling with all health and safety issues. So that was I believe, the most important take-home message for us, as we're all developing all these nice guidelines. In reality, we have to go to the small businesses to see, if they even know they exist. So that's very important. So we identified that there are little resources available through our environmental scan. There are small businesses are a major underserviced community. It's very challenging for them to do identification of hazard and prioritize them. And we kind of were confident then that we need to have a separate approach for small and micro businesses, that we cannot really expect them that they will go and download a huge or a thick booklet, and they will be able to understand, they will be able to implement it. And we kind of, again, realized that they are struggling in this competitive economy and day-to-day business issues, that they are very reactive, and the maximum thing that they can do is to really quickly solve problems. As for instance, if talking about the dry cleaner, a dry cleaning machine is not working, they have to call someone to come and do maintenance. That's the mindset. So expecting to do, hey, you know what, here is the ROLA or REBA checklist, and go and do an assessment, that might be too much to ask from them. So we did a little pilot study as well in Kitchener-Waterloo area, which again, through MSD is located. And here are the challenges that the small business owners in a more detailed interview identified. I'm not going to read them to you, but if you look at those, you realize that most of these issues are around resources and around timing, and all about kind of not really having a knowledge in terms of MSD prevention. So throughout 2016, 2017, we had again a team of 2 students that they visited KW, Kitchener-Waterloo small businesses, and they kind of again did more in kind of detailed interview with these people. Again, similar to the larger survey, most of the businesses were in retail, and we found that about 50% of small businesses believe that physical demands in the workplace could cause injuries such as back, shoulder, and neck pain. So 50% of them didn't even know that could cause those kind of injuries. And 40% of them did not know or were unsure how to identify physical demands. So they were not really kind of aware of how they can do it. And then for those that they could understand, we asked them, well, you know, what, for instance of controls, what kind of things to do? They were mainly talking about lifting, training, and making sure that workers would be able to do things right. And again, they were mainly looking into administrative controls in a hierarchy of control. Again, we're talking about elimination, substitution, engineering control. Then we talk about training as administrative control. They were mainly talking about administrative controls as providing lifting training and making sure that employees will be able to do that. So not much of, okay, so how can I actually reorganize my workstations or my workplace? Then, for instance, I can avoid a kind of lifting and all those kind of things. So here is the first version of the nice looking posters that we have right now. And that was kind of one of the first messages that we wanted to communicate with small businesses, and I was stored off the floor. And that's the first version of that, and that we wanted to see if they could understand this and they will be able to apply some of the learning components that we expect them. So we visited these small businesses after we gave them this as is kind of drawn from the toolbox talk of the CPWR in US, and we wanted to see if we can actually change the way that the small businesses kind of think about lifting, and if they will be able to make any changes within their work environment and even home environment when it comes to lifting. So one of the kind of interesting things that we identified through our study was that many of the small businesses, they actually really like the poster that we're talking about. Again, very simple message stored off the floor. And even some of them responded that they have actually used this concept to reorganize their garage. And they found it extremely useful. Students saw that when they actually went to back to small businesses for a follow-up, some of them they actually posted their the posters in their in their store, and they kind of really liked the idea. So and that again was a very simple message, that you could expect that they would know, but it was very interesting that it was very kind of a popular kind of idea, and they started kind of using that right away. And there were some few other small businesses that they suggested that, okay, we knew about this, there's nothing new in it, but it's nice that it's graphical and we can actually use it to train our workers. So in 2017 and 2018, what we did was we developed a series of these posters. Again, 7 of them, 6 of them focuses on the main hazards, which I can explain in a moment, and one of them was a body diagram. And we also had an instruction that, again, if you have this kind of folder in front of you, we create this as a kind of a folder that has some instructions, and then these 7 posters. So the idea was that how we can actually communicate to these small businesses of 6 main issues that they might have, and we kind of targeted small and micro businesses that they may have health and safety representatives, they may not have knowledge in health and safety, and they may not be familiar with MSD and prevention. So we pilot tested the guideline in, again, using Ministry of Labor Student Outreach Program, and we distributed a huge number of posters to we prepared about 6,000 posters to be distributed to small and micro businesses. Unfortunately, I do not know, to be honest, why the posters that we provide to them did not get into Sudbury, but here are how they've been distributed. And this time, Ministry of Labor wanted to visit 10,000 small businesses. And they had a huge survey this time because there are many other groups that they wanted to incorporate questions in that survey. Unfortunately, our questions were towards the end of the survey, so many small businesses actually dropped in the middle of the survey as it was too lengthy, they didn't have time, and they didn't want to continue. So only about 2,000 small businesses participated in this section of that student outreach program. And for researchers, that's, again, is a good number. Many of them, they were in a micro kind of level. They had less than 5 employees. We kind of distributed this, so students actually distributed the Quick Start Guideline. And the first question was, after reviewing the poster, did it change your thinking about physical demands at work that will cause pain and discomfort? 42% of those participated said yes. 58% of them suggested that they already knew the information or reported that the hazard does not exist in the workplace. The problem was that we didn't have a lot of money, so we actually distributed 1 poster per each workplace. So, the workplace, would have received one of these kind of posters that they may not seem relevant to them. We asked them, did you find the information in the mini poster and large poster useful? 83% of them said that they found the poster useful for training, education, and reminding their worker about hazards. They also found it to be easy to understand and like the visuals and design of the posters. For those that did not find the posters helpful, they said that there's a common sense, we already knew it, did not apply to their business. We also asked them about, will you make any changes or plan to change anything in your workplace after reviewing this material? But 40% of them suggested they would make change in their workplace. That include putting up the poster, adding into their health safety training, and rearranging how contents are stored in their workplace. The reasons for not changing, it was around already aware of these concepts, already had a good health and safety program, already had an ergonomist that assisted work, and that the posters they received was not applicable to their workplace. And again, that was a kind of funding issue we had. Keep in mind that we do not have any way to validate really if they've actually done that. That was kind of against self reporting study, so we don't really know. But by the way, 40%, if again it's true, 40% is a really good number in terms of seeing some success and uptake in the small businesses. So evaluation study, we kind of planned 2019 to go again with to small businesses this time because of the support we right now have with the Ministry of Labor. We hope that our questions will be the first questions that will be asked. That's why we reached out to them very early to make sure that we can actually evaluate the uptake. Also, kind of looking to work with Health and Safety Association as well to see how we can actually disseminate the information and also evaluate the content. We're going to have another pilot study with a smaller number to kind of validate if they've made any changes and not just rely on self-reported information. So that was about the small business study. Now, would you please go back to slide deck, the previous slide deck? Thank you. So that was about small businesses. So we gathered information and we called this Quick Start Guide, and that was again for small businesses. As I kind of explained, that was an approach we're taking with small businesses. We called the small business, again, guideline as a Quick Start Guideline. Then for larger businesses, I'm not going to call them medium and large, I'm going to call them larger businesses, we came up with 2 different guidelines, one basic guideline and one comprehensive guideline. They're different, but they have the same kind of 10 steps, so they're based on 10 common steps. We believe that if a company wants to progress, let's say a small business wants to become a medium-sized or become a large corporation if successful, you do not need to adopt a new program that is totally different than what you do. Even for small businesses, if you look at the folder that I provided to some of you, you see that here we do have all these 10 steps, but 10 steps, very easy steps that a small business can apply, again, if they want to be more proactive, if they have more resources, or if they may only choose these 10 posters. So for basic and comprehensive, we use the same idea as we create a kind of a scalable program that if you are a medium-sized business, or for instance, if you are a large business but you do not have an ergonomic program, you may start with the basic guideline and then make your way up to the comprehensive guideline. Again, they based on the 10 steps. As you see here, the basic guideline under, let's say, step 3, there's only one action required, but within the comprehensive guideline, again, we're talking about organizations that they might have health and safety management system. There are more expectations. There are about 3 or 4 more steps that they require to take to be able to, implement the full guideline. We base the basic and comprehensive based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act model, and that is because we wanted to make sure that we're not really introducing something new that, for instance, is not in line with current guidelines, current CSA standards, current ISO 45001, which will become available in Canada as well very soon. And we didn't want to create a new kind of monster, so we wanted to stay with what could possibly be familiar to medium and large businesses. And again, we published a lot of this work. We look into, again, we talk to a lot of people, including key informants, to better understand what kind of things, what kind of elements we need to put into that PDCA model of 10 steps that we introduced in the basic and comprehensive guideline. Again, I'm not going to go through this, but again, these papers are available. I believe the slides will be shared. If you require any of these papers, let me know. I'll be happy to send them to you. So the guideline, basic and comprehensive, is based on 10 steps, as you see here. And we wanted to make sure that organizations will have opportunity to continually improve their progress. So there are some kind of requirements here that, for instance, you have to look into this annually. You have to update your some of the risk analysis annually or when it's needed, and all those kind of things to ensure that there is a continuous improvement process and loop as well. One of the other needs that we identified was about importance of workers' participation. So we have a dedicated page throughout the guideline, basic and comprehensive. If you look at that, we talk a lot about workers' participation. So basically, workers need to get engaged from the very beginning in all these 10 steps, as well as we really have some sort of a dedicated web to talk about how important it is and how critical it is to engage workers. And that, again, for providing more support for workers' participation and for educational purposes for businesses. Again, as I suggested, we wanted to make sure that the language that we use is kind of easy to understand and is, again, compatible with what is already out there, that we are not, again, introducing something very different, and is scalable. So it's very important that we keep in mind that the organization's progress, they want to grow, and with providing them with a kind of a scalable opportunity, they will be able to actually adopt the guideline maybe much easier. So, so again, we talk about the guideline, the Quick Start guideline. We kind of developed a few things. Again, a introduction video on the homepage that I'll explain in a moment. Searchable resources within the guideline, selection of MSD assessment tools or a tool picker, and also incorporating a current guideline resources, video, graphics, and all those kind of things. And we want to make sure that it's AODA compliant. And we did not throw the old guideline away. We actually incorporated a lot of good tools that they kind of were in the old guideline and in our resources. So, for instance, you go and we can walk you through that, but that where you can actually find the old guideline resources as well. Here is the homepage of the MSD guideline, the new MSD guideline. Again, we had funding to develop the website, and we were able to maintain it. We will be able to update as needed and add resources. Before I get to the website walkthrough, the phase 2 development is about developing with additional resources. We are developing a quick start guide for Office. As you identify, Office exists everywhere, so what we can actually provide for Office ergonomic. Collect stories and case studies, develop dealing with MSD. We're talking about work disability prevention, Some of you might not know that, or you may know. I'm actually spearheading a development of a Canadian standard on work disability prevention management system standard. So that section of the guideline will be populated when we have some sort of a content regarding that. The control picker is something that I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. That is something we want to add. You'll be able to search for prevention resources and search functions that will help you to, kind of get into what you need. We're looking into putting about 1,000 ideas about controls, again, simple solutions for MSD hazards, and we continue to respond to feedback on the beta version of the website, and again, make sure that everything that we put on the website is AODA compliant, and continue to add information literature. In the next maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I'll walk you through the guideline website. I'm not sure how much time I have. Do I have another? Yes. Maybe 5 minutes. I'll quickly go through the website. How many of you have seen the website? I believe some of you have. Yeah, perfect, good. Okay, so in the home page, we do have this kind of introduction video. I'll let the video to play it, and then again I'll walk you through some of the main features.
Welcome to MSDprevention.com, Ontario's new guide for the prevention of musculoskeletal disorders. Lower back injuries, shoulder tendinitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow and tension neck. These disorders and others are a major cause of disability and pain in the workplace, and the costs for workers, businesses, the WSIB, and society continue to be high. This website is your new destination to help reduce these costly injuries. Some highlights about MSD. Here you'll learn about the different types of musculoskeletal disorders and how to prevent MSD. Every workplace, big and small, and in all sectors, has some MSD hazards. Removing them prevents future musculoskeletal disorders and helps workers in pain now. The Quick Start Guide is for very small businesses, and the comprehensive guideline is designed for large organizations. Here you'll find information and step-by-step strategies to help keep your workers safe and injury-free. Reported MSD. Has an injury been reported at your workplace? Find out here what to do next. Tools for stakeholders. Whether you're a small business owner, a worker, an ergonomist, or a joint health and safety committee member, here you'll find the tools, resources, and information you need to help prevent and deal with MSDs in the workplace. MSD risk assessment. How do you identify MSD hazards? A checklist or a more in-depth approach? Need help narrowing it down? Our MSD risk assessment tool picker can help. Use the tool picker to help us guide you toward the appropriate MSD risk assessment method in a few quick clicks. Task type, duration of work, workplace environment, level of analysis. The more details you know, the more targeted the results. Can't find that one specific thing you need? Our library of resources is constantly growing and evolving, so check back often for the latest, most up-to-date info. Or, if you're not sure what you're after, browse our MSD resource library containing videos, animations, downloadable PDFs and documents, as well as links to many other helpful MSD resources. With these tools at your fingertips, we believe you'll quickly find this to be an indispensable resource for reducing musculoskeletal disorders in your workplace. Now go start using the new Ontario MSD Prevention Guideline, because work shouldn't hurt.
So that was kind of a brief introduction to how the website is being organized. And the idea was that again, we'll be able to create something that users can kind of use the reference for MSD permission, and they can actually have access to kind of any information. I just wanted to point out a few things. For instance, for type of MSD, we updated this page. We kind of listed all of the graded MSDs, and then we have a short description for all of them. Another thing that we did was that we, again, as we're looking into providing videos and more guidance. So, for instance, for posture, we kind of developed some videos and PDFs as well that are already available on the website. So there are very short videos. We kind of constantly improving those. We got the feedback that, like, for instance, it could be good to have some kind of voiceover for these kind of videos. We're working with the web developing company and the graphic designers to kind of add voiceover to some of these videos. So again, we're thinking about adding about hopefully up to about 50 videos about type of hazards or the issues that we can actually graphically kind of provide some guidance to users. And we will also leveraging on existing resources available internationally. And then again, all these are kind of videos and PDFs. The MSD risk assessment toolkit, is a very powerful tool. Again, we're constantly improving that. You can actually go here, say that, for instance, I have lifting in my workplace. You go and identify the level of detail you require. Let's say observational technique. You go and identify again more information as one-handed. Let's say twisted. And you know the duration, you know the frequency, and then that would suggest kind of a tool that you can actually use for assessment. Again, these are additional resources for those that they're ergonomists or Joint Health Safety Committee members. They want to do more detailed analysis of MSD hazards. Again, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And if you have any questions, if you have any feedback about the guideline, feel free to contact me or Dr. Wells. Dr. Wells is retired now, but is still engaged in this project, and we'll be happy to, hear your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please raise your hand if you have a question. That was amazing. These resources are so helpful. I have a question while you're thinking of a question. Do you know if the Small Business Survey intends to survey workers next time around?
Very good question. This is not the study that we designed at the University of Waterloo, CREAMSD. It was a Ministry of Labor's kind of program. I do not know what they plan to do in future, but in the past couple of years, they've been only interviewing business owners and managers.
Yeah, I wonder if, the responses around getting a poster as they surprised you, sometimes that's very effective. But sometimes it's a checkbox to say, I told them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's very important. I agree with you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the audience? Thank you so very, very much.
Daryl, are there any questions from people online?